Hello.
Dum 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 bum ba-dum. So as you can guess,
Oh, I thought you were gonna keep going. Ooh, I like my ears.
can anyone guess what we're celebrating today?
Your words are kind of backwards, Ricky.
I know, but you can still kind of see.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Jones Live. We are live, Pacific time, 8 o'clock.
8 p.m. Pacific, yes.
Sure. Every Thursday here, live on Facebook, doing these videos for you guys and to get you a little entertained on Thursday if you don't have nothing to do.
The show is called Live with the Joneses, where faith comes first, family is our mission, and together every day is another opportunity to be the light of the world. This is the show where we talk about everything from marriage and family to parenting and homeschooling.
And Star Wars.
And of course, Star Wars. We're going to get real, we share our stories, and we have a whole lot of fun. So you can watch us, as my lovely wife says, every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Facebook, or you can watch us after the fact on YouTube, and you can even subscribe to us via podcast at iTunes. So thank you for joining us today.
Or what?
I did shave.
It's like really long.
Oh, this part?
Yeah.
I guess I need to trim my beard.
Mm-hmm.
So, welcome to Live with the Joneses. This is episode 9.
Woohoo!
And tonight we're going to be talking about giving.
As you guys could tell, we're not like screaming or like being loud because the boys are sleeping. Yay!
Well, you just got home from somewhere, and that's why they're tired.
We went to Disneyland today, so we literally just got here like 30 minutes ago, and I took a shower because I was like super hot, super sweaty. It was rough, very rough on me.
And I was sad because they got to go to Disneyland and I had to go to work. So I'm watching my wife posting all these happy, fun pictures at Disneyland.
And he's crying.
And I'm crying at work. But also because today's a special day, like we said. You can read my hat here, and Joanna has her. Are they on? Oh, yeah, they're on.
You guys see my ears? How they move? They light up.
They're pretty
so
awesome.
Cool. So let me explain to you guys why we're wearing these Star Wars stuff items. So my friend in the morning messaged me and sent me this graphic saying, "May the 4th be with you," with like Star Wars graphics, and I just laughed. I said, "Oh well, it's just 3 of us today," you know. So I thought she was, she was trying to she was trying to say like 4 of us,
Because I wasn't there.
Like, may the 4 of you be together, like at Disneyland, because you probably saw me at Disneyland. So I was like, ha ha ha, there's only 3 of us, Ricky's working. But then we went to...
That's called going right over your head.
Seriously. I'm really bad at things like that. Like, honestly. And so, because we went to California Adventures first, and then, people are always wearing Star Wars stuff, so I didn't think, it was like a big deal, all these people wearing Star Wars. But then we went to Disneyland, and everybody was wearing Star Wars. They were wearing R2-D2 dresses, BB-8 dresses, Star Wars everywhere, Chewbacca everywhere, like... Okay.
That was my Chewbacca.
Yeah. And, like, seriously, Star Wars everywhere. So I was like, I wonder, maybe there's an event going on today or something, And then I get closer to, like, the Star Wars area. They have, like, these Jedi shows and stuff.
Oh, so you guys did go to Disneyland, too?
Yeah.
Oh, it's because when I called you, you were at California Adventures. So
Yeah, just, like, for the last 2 hours, just to get ice cream. And then we see, like, all these people, like, in line. I was like, why are they in line? I guess it was the new... I'm not a Star Wars fan, so I don't really know all these names.
The new what?
The new spaceship. It has like 2 things on the side.
A spaceship with 2 things on the side?
Yeah, they're like octagons on the side. And
a TIE fighter.
Sure.
It's like a ball in the middle with the 2 flat. Yeah,
I guess
that's
it was
a TIE fighter. She needs a Star Wars education.
No, I don't. And they were taking pictures, I guess, with this thing, with these signs saying, "May the 4th be with you." I was like, oh, I get it. Today's 4th, May 4th. So I was like, oh, that feels really dumb. So I sent my friend a picture. I was like, oh, okay, now I get what you're trying to say. Like,
so how big was the TIE fighter, though?
That's pretty big.
Like life size?
Bigger than that.
Oh man, I'm missing out.
It was like
so sad.
It was like a poster, not a poster, but like just like a fake thing,
A fake thing.
Yeah, like cardboard big thing.
Okay.
Like it was like a picture. It wasn't like real.
Oh, I thought it was like a real typewriter. I was like, that would be awesome.
But a lot of people were taking. So I finally got it.
Hey, Will and Perla, thanks for joining us.
So I finally got it. I was like, oh, my eyes are always watery. I think it's these lights, or maybe like
we
my
need
makeup.
These lights to make us look pretty.
No, I think it's my makeup because I always do my makeup before the show, so I think that's what it is. My eyes get really sensitive. True. So yeah, that was pretty interesting. May the 4th be with you.
So May the 4th be with you. On May the 4th every year we celebrate everything Star Wars, and we've had a lot of Star Wars stuff, especially these past couple of years because we had 2 movies come out within.
Did you make it or what?
We like the world. The world is blessed to have Star Wars. Okay. We had 2 new Star Wars movies come out within a year of each other. That's a big deal. That hasn't happened in a long time. So
I guess. And
there's more to come. But we won't get too much into Star Wars. We have a lot more to come. We're going to be talking about... We will come back to Star Wars a little bit towards the end. We'll be giving a review of Rogue One because it ties into what we're going to be talking about today. So,
have you guys seen Rogue One?
Let us know in the comments.
Vicky, estamos hablando que fuimos a Disneylandia. We're going to do a translation because they're asking over here.
Dile a los niños que te traducen. Ellos sí pueden hablar inglés.
Y ahora fuimos a Disneylandia con los niños. Y le digo a Ricky que todo estaba de Star Wars. Porque cada 4 de mayo celebran todo de Star Wars.
Yeah.
No sé si han mirado las películas. Yo creo que sí, los niños sí han mirado Star Wars. So, estamos hablando de eso. So yeah, that's why we're wearing these awesome. Just a fact about these ears, like they got them out like last year, right?
Like at Disneyland. Last fall. We tried to get them and
they were gone, out. Like online. Cause you guys see how they light up?
So they're like super fancy.
I'm gonna turn off the lights. Well, my side, maybe my side, just so you guys can see.
At night in Disneyland, when you're walking around, you can see them a lot. It looks really cool. Let's turn off the other light. Ooh, now that looks cool.
I'm coming.
There you go.
Look at that. Pretty cool.
So is that the ship you're talking about, the TIE Fighter, right?
Oh, yeah, there it is. That one. That funny looking thing. And so, yeah, that was so then we did a ride. What ride did we do?
It was it Space
Mountain? Yeah, we did Space Mountain, and we were getting out, and I was like, are those the ears? And like, I guess they were just barely putting them out, and the ladies
told us that there was like none anywhere in the park.
Yeah. So yeah, we're pretty excited. So we got 2 sets for the boys. They don't really wear them because they are pretty heavy because they're like plastic, but they're pretty cool. We love them. I like how this looks. I'm just kidding. Okay, let me turn on the lights. Ricky's gonna continue.
All right. So we'll get back to Star Wars in a bit. We'll be talking about Rogue One as it relates to what our topic is about giving, right? So we're going to share a few stories of how our families kind of inspired us to be givers, how they showed us through their example, how we learned to give. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about 3 ways that you can make giving a priority, and then we'll see what the Bible has to say about all this. So stay with us. We'll be here for about another 45 minutes. And we'll get started with our quote. So our quote today comes from Anne Frank. So if you're not familiar with Anne Frank, she was a Jew, a young Jewish girl living in, I think they were in Poland.
Yeah, I think so.
I assume it would be Poland. But they were living there, and her and her family go into hiding, and they're hiding in her dad's office building in the attic, I think, because the Nazis are out to basically send them out to concentration camps. And I'm not going to get into her whole life story.
There's
all kinds of movies.
All these kinds of movies, and
but the best one is read her diary, the Diary of Anne Frank.
But the movie that came out
they're
a couple
good.
of years
yeah, they're
is
good.
Pretty good too.
But I'm saying the book is always better than the movie.
Yeah.
So anyways, our quote this week comes from Anne Frank. It says, "No one has ever become poor by giving." No one has ever become poor by giving. And it's an interesting way to think about it, because we think about when we give something away, we don't have it anymore. So if I have, and I always use this example, if I have a sandwich from Subway and I give her half of it, so it's a foot long, I give her a 6-inch half of it, I only have half of my sandwich less. I've lost something in order to give it to her. But what Anne Frank is saying, no one has ever become poor by giving. it's kind of backwards to the way we think, because we think when I give something away, I'm going to lose something. But what she's saying is by giving, we gain something. And we'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end. But first, we wanted to get started by talking about where we were this past weekend. We had mentioned at the end of last week that we were getting ready to go to a marriage preparation retreat called
Engage Encounter.
You want to tell them what that's all about briefly?
Yeah. Gracias, Vicky. Igualmente, cuídense. Yeah, we'll repeat what Engage Encounter is all about again. It's a wonderful program for engaged couples preparation. It's a I don't want to call it mini retreat because it is 3 days long. So it's intense weekend for them, but it's so wonderful. At the end, like, all these guys were like, yeah, before coming to this place, like, I Googled it and I Yelped to see, like, what comments
it was going to be about.
And I guess what they saw was everything was pretty good, you know, and so they're like, okay, they're still going to be hesitant, you know, to go into a very different place that they're not comfortable with, you know, so I understand that. So yeah, it was pretty funny. So yeah, their marriage preparation, they're not classes. It's a
retreat.
Yeah, it's just basically us, you know, speaking of our experience, sharing our experiences in many different topics. Financial fidelity, that means, you know, like your finances, because finances is very
money
big.
Is one of the number one of divorce.
Exactly. So
money issues.
You need to talk about finances, and I think it's important.
We talk about communication,
family, communication,
unity,
marriage, sacramental marriage. So there's a lot of topics.
But it's intense.
Yeah.
It's like Saturday all day from like early in the morning to late at night. Friday, we start Friday night, so that's not too bad, and then Sunday most of the day too. So it's an intense weekend, but it's a powerful weekend too. So we were there this weekend, and you know, we were thinking about, because one of the topics that we give towards the end of the weekend is about giving. It's about giving back, right? Because as a couple, it's not just about me and her. It's about how we are, you know, sharing that love or sharing what we have with the world, right? And so
when the interesting thing was that when the boys were smaller, we took them on 2 of these weekends. Because it was easy, like, they would sleep all day.
Well, yeah, when they're babies, you can just, like, set them right there and they don't move.
Yeah, and so we took them twice, and that's what we loved about the ministry, that they were very, you know, kid-friendly and very welcoming.
Family-oriented.
Very welcoming, so that's what made us stay there, you know, and so I think that's important to share that, you know, for us, it's always important to always do everything together. And so when we heard, like, it's okay that you guys bring your kids, I'm like, oh, okay, you know, like, we're gonna give it a try. So every time we take them, they're pretty good, thank God. This time they were really good, but I just felt bad that they were just there, like, in the room, and we took them out, you know,
they call it a hotel.
They're like, let's go back to the hotel, but they had fun because they were watching movies and stuff, so they don't get to see movies all day in the house, so they were pretty excited about that. So yeah, that was that. So I enjoyed, you know, we always enjoy taking them, but it's always a good time when we serve on these weekends to just have that one-on-one, you know, time for each other.
Yeah, it's because it gives us the opportunity to get away from, not to get away from the kids, but to focus more on our relationship. So there's pros and cons to that, but it was a good weekend. And one of the things that we talk about towards the end of the weekend is that about how the couple can give, how they could share what they have with the world. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. That's kind of what inspired us to have this topic today. So what we want to do now is share a few examples from our lives about what our experience growing up was and how we learned to give, how our parents or our family or anybody really showed us the importance of giving. And I know you have a really good example.
Yeah, I'm always sharing that it comes very natural to me to give, to be compassionate towards people, to love people. Why? Because that's the way I grew up, and that's how my family grew up. And so, but it all comes from someone, and that someone was my grandma. My grandma was very giving. She loved to give. She loved to serve others. And I always tell the story that my mom told me that in Mexico, Guadalajara, I'm from Guadalajara, she would literally, like, bring homeless into her house and feed them, clothe them, and you know, they would bathe in her own house. Like, she was that, like, out there, you know. She would get these strangers into her house and help them, and she would feed them. She would help, you know, families that needed help, and not only one person. Like, she would bring families into her house, you know. And so when my mom would tell me this, I was just like, wow, you know. So it definitely comes from her, you know, that person, my grandma. And then obviously it's the ripple effect, you know, the collateral beauty about it. Ooh, that sounds smart. No, I'm just kidding. It passed to my mom, because my mom's like that, you know, that she's very, like, when people come to her house, like, she'll, you know, cook like all these big meals and stuff like that. Not as much anymore, because she is getting older, so she's like, I'm done cooking. Let's go eat tacos at the street or something, you know. But yeah. But my family has always been very giving, because that's how we grew up, you know. And so they have always told us that, like, you know, like, you guys are just like good hosts, and you guys love to give, and for us it's natural, you know. So that's how I grew up.
And I would say that I didn't have that same kind of experience with my family. Not that my family is bad or evil or anything, but I didn't feel like I was really taught to give a lot.
I mean, it's different because you're a guy too.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, I know that in my family, especially my immediate family where I grew up with my mom, my brother, and me, we were all kind of self-centered, I guess, in the idea that, you know, more worried about what's going on with us than really focusing on the outside world or even other family members or things like that. So I think that's why when I met Joanna and her family, that was the big impact for me. So she mentioned her grandma being the impact for her, you know, the person who really inspired her. Well, my wife Joanna is the one who inspires me, because when I met her and seeing how selfless she is, how she goes out of her way to make other people feel comfortable, she goes out of her way to help people in need, and like she mentioned before, it comes natural to her, and it doesn't come natural to me. I have to really work at it. So I think that's, you know, something that I saw in her that attracted me to her when I first met her, was that way that she was selfless and caring and willing to give of herself. So that's something that really inspired me, and I think, and we'll talk more about this in a moment, but I think that's why when you give, it attracts people. Like, when I saw that in her, it attracted me to her. And I think, you know, now after 7 years of marriage, I've seen how the way my wife is with other people, it attracts people to her, because they see that genuine kindness and caring and selflessness that is very uncommon, actually, I think, these days. So
I'm gonna cry.
I'm being real.
My eyes are watery, but because of the makeup.
It's something that it's touched me, and it inspires me to try to be more giving, to try to be more selfless and inspiring. I love making my wife cry.
It's the makeup. Honestly, it's the makeup. I'm just kidding.
I know. I don't make her cry.
No.
So, you know, that's a couple of examples just from our lives. But one of the things that I wanted to point out is that a lot of times when we think about giving, we think that we have to go out into the streets and find people, that we have to go find a homeless person on the corner to help them. And that's a great thing to do, but for most of us, we don't even do this stuff in our own homes with our own families, and that's where we have to start, right? If we can't do it in our homes, then everything we do outside the house doesn't really matter, right? And I think, especially if you're married and have kids, like, you have so many opportunities to give, you know, and we'll talk about how those work. Well, why are you laughing?
I'm joking. Even today, like, I was like, because we park like close to Disneyland to save parking money, especially like we go like twice a month.
It's like $20 a day.
Per day, and so we park like in the street. It's pretty cool because we don't have to pay.
It's like what, half a mile away?
No, not even. It's like, with the kids, it takes us like 20 minutes, but it's the same. It's the same amount of time if you park. You take the little train, and so it's like, might as well just walk, you know. Right. Anyhow, so you have to go up this hill and get down on this hill, you know. So
it's like it goes over the freeway.
You know, poor boys are like in the stroller together, and I was just like going up that hill, you know, going back to the car today. And I was like, man, this is a sacrifice, you know, like, my kids better appreciate what I'm doing for them, you know, but it's true. Sometimes we have to get it out. It hurts to give your all, you know, and so, and that came to my head, like, when I was, like, going up the hill, I was like, okay, I'm going to do my best, and, like, just looking at them and it motivated me. Like I could do this, and I even ran that hill.
You did?
Yeah, I did. I was like, my calves were like hurting.
No, did you get it on video?
No, but I did. I'm being honest. I'm not lying. You can even tell the boys when they wake up. How about that?
Oh, that's good.
All right.
Catch me outside. How about that?
But yeah, it's true. I'm like, this is a sacrifice, especially because I went by myself. Like, it's not easy. Like with two boys, when Ricky's there, it's so much easier because he gets one. But huge backpack with like food, snacks, drinks, extra clothes. Like, it's not easy. So, but I know that
when I think it's hot too, like it's summer, so it makes it 10 times worse. You're just uncomfortable and sweaty and stuff.
But just seeing them, how happy they are, and how making memories. I commented on a video. I love making memories with the boys, and that's what Ricky's trying to say. If it doesn't start in our house, our first home, which is your family, us, it doesn't make sense if you're giving away, to people out there when you don't even start in your own home, so that's it just came to my head right now.
You were inspired.
Yep.
So this whole idea of giving, a lot of times we'll call it charity, right? But charity is not just to give money. Charity is love in all aspects of the word.
Well, there's so many ways, like my grandma, she would feed the hunger. The Beatitudes, feed the hungry, visit the
works of mercy.
The works of mercy, sorry. And there's so many ways that you could give. A lot of people say, when you have to give, it's like, it doesn't have to be money. People sometimes need just a call to see how they're doing. And
we're going to talk about 3 specific ways that you can give back that kind of encompass all of that. But before we get there, as Catholics, traditionally, we have this idea of giving that we call stewardship. And now when you hear stewardship, it sounds dry and theological. To be a good steward is like to be a good manager of resources, right? A couple of times in the Bible when it talks about steward, it's someone who is responsible for their master's stuff, right? And so the master goes away and he leaves the steward in charge, trusting that he's going to take care of things. But it goes a little bit deeper with us, right? So for Catholics, you might have heard this term, count your blessings, right? And counting your blessings is all about gratitude. It's being thankful for what you have, what God has given you. But what we're talking about here is actually not just counting your blessings, but sharing your blessings. And that might sound like a foreign concept to you, but God has given so generously everything that you have. Everything that you have comes from God. And He's giving that to you freely. He hasn't asked you for anything. You didn't earn it. He gave it to you because He loves you. And on the other hand, He also challenges us to be like Him, right? He says, be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy. He wants us to be like Him. So in order for us to do that, we've got to give too. We've got to share what He's given us. And I think it applies to in the family, it applies to outside. But, think about the ways that God has blessed you. And how can you share those blessings that He's given you with others? And there's 3 ways traditionally that when we talk about stewardship, and that's
time. So first one is time. So this is the opportunity for you guys that are watching us. How do you give your time to your spouse, to your kids, to your friends, to your family,
quality time too?
Right. So how do we give time to those people around us? And not only to ourselves, because remember, we have to go out there. It just makes us better people, when we do good things.
Right.
Right? So how do you can you help me rephrase it?
How do you give up your time?
How do you give up your time? What do you do?
Well, if you think of it as a gift too, because sometimes we take it for granted, but the time that you have every day is a gift. So if you wake up in the morning, be thankful that you woke up in the morning, that you had that whole day ahead of you.
And I think that I really grasped that time thing when I watched Alice in Wonderland. Looking.
Oh, through the looking glass.
If you guys haven't watched that, you guys have to watch it and it's true. Like, do you remember that movie? Mm-hmm. You watched it, right? The whole thing, like that they're trying to help the Mad Hatter or something like that is because he's about to die because he thinks the family died or something like that. And the time guy, at the end said, time is precious, or something like that. And it was like, wow, it hit me, So You guys definitely have to watch Alice in Wonderland. Like, it's a really good movie. It makes you cherish your time.
Through the Looking Glass.
Yeah.
The second one, not the first one.
Yeah. But it really makes you think about, it's true, how am I using my time wisely, you know?
Right. Mm-hmm. Hi, Angie.
Hola, Angie.
Gracias
Hola.
por mirar. So, time, right? If time is a gift, how can we share that gift with others, right? Whether it's, me spending quality time with my wife. We talked about, this past weekend. We went on this retreat. How that is usually a couple times a year that we do it.
Twice.
We go alone, and it's quality time that we spend with each other. Also, sharing it with the other couples, but it's a quality time that we have with each other to really focus on our relationship and on bettering our relationship. That's quality time. Or even, maybe to have a date night every once in a while to, because once you have kids, it's, they take a lot of your attention and your time and your effort, and everything is kind of focused on them. Yeah. So we need to make sure we're still spending that quality time. So that's one example. And again, that doesn't require us to go out into the world. It's just, here. Maybe we could sit down and have a cup of coffee and just talk.
We're using our time, an hour with you guys. So
we're sharing our time, which is a precious gift because we're busy. I just got home from work. She just got home from Disneyland.
I was like, I'm going to take a shower.
Yeah, so it's, time is precious. We wish, I wish I had more time, right? But we got to be thankful for the time that we got and use it wisely. I saw someone posted a video. It's one of those analogies that I've heard over the years, and it's where the guy pulls out the jar and he says, he says life, we all have the same amount of time, right? And so he puts some golf balls in the jar and he fills it up, and he asks the people sitting around, is this jar full? And they say, yeah, it's full. And then he pulls out some little pebbles and he drops the pebbles in there, and that kind of starts to fill in the cracks around the golf balls. And then he asks them again, is it full? And they say, yeah, it's full. And then he pulls out some sand and he pours some sand in there, and that fills in the little cracks around there. And he asks them again, is it full? And they say, yes, it's full. And he pulls out some water and pours some water in there, and it still has more space to fill up with all that water. And so the idea is he's saying that, the big things in life are what's most important, take up the majority of the space. The other little things should come last and fill in the cracks. But we spend more time focusing on the little things, and we neglect those big things. So if you were to take that empty jar and fill it up with sand, there would be no room for the golf balls, the pebbles, or the water. It would already be full. So you have to prioritize life and have things in the right order. And so I think it's a good example of talking about that, though, that time is precious, because we all have 24 hours in a day. There's nothing you can do to add more hours or take hours away. But we can prioritize the things that we do, right? How much time do we spend sitting down on the couch watching TV? Is that helping to benefit our lives or our family's life in any way? Probably not. So maybe can we cut some of that time out and focus on the family? Yeah. So that's just one example, right?
So that's time. So how are we using our time wisely? And we mentioned with our family, our friends, our neighbors. If you have really good relationships with them, maybe hanging around, or anything. How are we using our time wisely?
Right. Mm-hmm. Next.
The next one is talent. We all have talents. We always talk about, they always tell me, like, Joanna, you're so talented. It's like, I love being talented. I love anything that has to do with talent, with art, with baking, with cooking. I don't want to keep going because they're going to be like, oh my gosh.
Oh, she's so talented.
But I love it. Like, it comes, again, that's something that fills me and that brings joy to me. And I was blessed with God gave me the talents that I have, so again.
You are just too cool for school.
No, I always say, God is the one that gave them to me, and I'm just blessed because I enjoy, I use them to the best of my ability,
right.
And so, for example, talents are like, things that you like, hobbies, a lot of people like to crochet, to sew, to cook, to bake. What are your talents?
What are my talents? I can build some really cool Lego spaceships.
Yeah, he can.
No, but I'm just kidding.
You're smart.
What are my talents? I'm smart. It doesn't sound good when I say it. What are my talents, babe?
The only thing.
She's lost for words. No, I'm talented. I'm a good writer.
I would say writer.
think I'm a good speaker. I'm getting better. Like to get up in public when they invite me to give a talk or to.
And I think they changed throughout time too, because he was never a speaker, you know, and now that's.
I'm super shy. I don't like to be the center of attention, but for some reason, when I'm called to speak, especially if it's about God or my faith or sharing my faith,
he'll just like go.
Yeah. And I don't,
so maybe now that's his talent.
That's a gift. Talent is a gift.
Yeah. So what are your talents, Angie? What are your talents? Come on, anybody else who's live? These things up here, like it says live, and then it says 2 people, but it doesn't show. So I think it doesn't really show us who is watching, but
it doesn't show who's watching.
Yeah, it doesn't show us, so we can't really name your names because. There's just says live and then
so
the
unless
little
you comment, we don't know if you're watching.
Yes, so if you're watching, what are your talents? So other people can see, and maybe if they see, they're like, oh, I didn't know that was a talent, you know? So
I think it's a hard question to ask because it's not something that you want to say, like how you said, you know, oh, well, I'm good at this and I'm good at that, because then like people feel kind of
No, if I find out somebody cooks, then I'll go to their house.
I know, but I'm saying, like, for me in general, like to say, oh, well, I'm good at this, I'm good at that, like you kind of feel like not humble.
What is your talent, Angie? Come on.
She said, hablar con mis amigas.
Oh.
To talk to her
to
friends.
To talk to her friends. That's good. Not a lot of people are good listeners.
As long as it's not chisme.
No más, no chismes, okay?
All right, so that's talent. And number 3. Well, actually, before, I want to say one more thing about talents. How do you use your talents for good, right? Mm-hmm. Because sometimes we have talents that are not good things. Talents that lead us down a bad path, or that they don't help people, they hurt people, right? So how to use your talents for good. And you kind of just we've given a couple examples of how we use our talents, being here sitting in front of this, or when I get invited to speak, you know, that's sharing a talent that I have to help other people.
Hi Carmen, hello, we're talking about talents. What is your talent? We're gonna do a talent show right now. I'm just kidding. You were saying, how do you use your talents, you know,
for good to help people?
Yeah. Again, you know, for me, I love it. I love giving my talents. You know, I love when I invite people over to my house. I love to make like a whole like dinner and food and stuff. And because like just do something simple. I was like, I just can't because I'm so used to it. Because
what I would do is put like some cheese and crackers and some soda.
Go get some like Chinese food or
not even cheese and crackers and some ham and salami
and water, probably water, frozen water. No,
she makes like this huge buffet and it's like 5 people coming and it's like food for 100 people.
Oh my gosh, no, but because I love giving of my talent, you know, so that's what.
It's a good thing. I'm saying again, that's not my talent, so I guess that's why I don't.
Yeah. What's next? Oh.
So number 3, when we're talking about stewardship and giving back, how can we give? The third way is treasure. And now, that's kind of the one we always go to first, is our money, right? And we all hold so tightly onto our money. We have kind of this love affair with our money. And in a way, it's not a bad thing because we've earned this money, right? We work hard for the money that we have. But the Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil. Money is not bad. It's a tool. It's a tool that allows us to do good things, right? If I go out and buy groceries for my family, I'm doing a good thing. I'm providing for their needs, right?
Right.
Or what's another example? For example, we have founded a nonprofit organization, and we're building a convent in Africa.
Well, before that, we could talk about I just went blank with her name. The sponsor? Nancy. We've been sponsoring this little girl for 7 years.
8 years.
8 years now, before we got married. Mm-hmm. Wow, time flies. She's a young girl from Honduras, and I remember when we started serving at church, it was called
the Christian Foundation for Children and Aging, which is a really long name.
CFCA. Something like that. But now it's called Unbound. So when we first, and we have seen these like since I was young. I remember like these ministries coming to our, the parish and asking to sponsor a child, to help them. So they've been out for like a long time, and so we felt called to it, and we weren't even married at that time. We were just, dating. I mean, we lived together in the same house, but we weren't married. And
we might have been married. I don't know. I thought it was 8 years. Maybe it's 7.
So probably, I don't know. Anyhow, so we just felt a call to to give of our treasure, you know, our the blessings that God gives us, our money, to help this young lady. And it's like $30, I think, right?
$30 a month, and it provides for her to get an education.
So she's been going to school for the past 7 years, and we write letters back and forth. So knowing that we're doing something small like that, it how do you say, like, there's no words, you know, it's just, again, you know, for me it comes natural to give, but to see the proof that you're doing good, like, it's amazing. And
how it can change other people's lives.
Just $30, you know. And we always say when we do, we'll talk about the nonprofit that we have, that we started, but we always say $1, $2, giving up a Starbucks, you know, 1 month, like, put on a piggy bank and giving it away to a charity or something, like, it can make a difference, you know. And so yeah.
So when it comes to that, I was mentioning the Rock Association. So that was another example of giving of your treasure, right? So we founded a nonprofit to raise money so that we could build this convent in Africa, which is going to help more people to learn about God.
So when we say we founded, again, we felt the call to start it, you know. And again, I can share a little bit about how we started. No?
I don't think we have that much time.
So
you can tell it briefly, but...
No, it's okay. Just go.
So the idea is we raise money here to send over there so we could build this convent. But it's a way that we can give of the little that we have. And the example that you were about to share was that $1 here for us to give over there is worth 2,000 shillings. So it's a huge rate of exchange. And for them to earn that money over there is a lot more difficult. It's the same thing for like people who live in Mexico. You know, like Joanna has family members in Mexico, and what they earn in a week is like what we can earn here in an hour or two. And so it's crazy how different the economies are. But to be able to give a little bit of what we have can be a huge blessing to someone else, especially in another country. And so that's how it works with Unbound, and how we're sponsoring a little girl named Nancy. She's not even so little anymore. She's getting really big. But the same is true with our organization, The Rock. So, you know, the little that we can give, especially, you know, right now we ran some fundraisers during the Lenten season, but we still didn't reach our goal. We have a long way to go to put a roof on this convent. And so the little that we can, you know, raise for that will be a huge blessing. So if you want to help us... I think
that's important to share because, and not to put, you know, people look bad, but again, we planned 2 fundraisers this past month, and they weren't very successful, you know, and so it was sad. Again, we're not doing this for ourselves, you know, even for the people that are involved, you know, that give a lot of their time, their treasures, and their talents, like 100% of themselves, you know. And so to see that it didn't go the way we wanted to, you know, for all of us, it's disappointing and it's sad. But again, that's when prayer comes in, to say, okay, what are we doing wrong here? You know, what's going on? So our goal was to raise, in these past 2 months, you know, during Lent, $5,000 to build our roof. You know, and you guys hear us talk about, you know, a lot about it.
Right.
We've been wanting to finish the roof because it's been raining over there. So we don't want the foundation and the walls and everything that has been built to, you know, get bad. So we're like, you know, like the past like 2 months, you know, like doing a lot of things, like literally like from morning to night, you know, doing all this stuff. And we went out to teens, you know, and we asked them for their help, and we share the same thing, you know, $1, like if all of you guys here, you know, donated $20, like that's $3,000, $2,000, and we had done it before, you know, little kids donated $5,000 in 2 months during Lent 2 years ago. So we're just like amazed of how big their hearts were, you know. So we did it again, and it didn't go as planned.
These were older kids, teenagers, and there was probably in total, there was 2 different groups, so probably in total
60,
at least
120 maybe
over 100 kids, teens. And so we asked them each to, you know, give what you can. And so we go to pick them up, and the majority of them didn't even turn in the containers that we gave them. You know, even I would rather at least get an empty container back, but it seemed like the fact that they just lost it or forgot it or don't even know where it is, it was really, it's upsetting, because you feel like, wow, you know, did we not get the message across of how important it was? Or is that just our culture that we don't care anymore because, like I said, we're so focused on ourselves and these other things? it could be that. We don't know what the cause was. But obviously it was upsetting, and it's challenged us, spiritually to want to see what we need to do differently with that. But
we're talking about something serious, and we have our ears. No, but I think it's important to share because again, it was an eye opener for us, to see what are we teaching our kids, and how are we gonna implement and show them the same things that our values and our, so I want my kids to be just like I was growing up. Well, not as much, but no. But like to learn to give, and I think it's generous, to be generous, to be humble. And so I think it's so important, and not only for themselves, but for everyone, for the world, and that's what we told these kids, these are 120 kids. I'm like, you guys could make a difference, and how much you could touch. And the ones that we did get, they filled it up, and there was like $30 just full of coins, $20, so you could tell the kids that were really, had it in their hearts, so, but again, it's just, all these experiences that we go through, it's just an eye-opener to see, what do we need to change, for ourselves, first of all, and then we like to share these experiences with you guys. Maybe you guys are going through something, and it's an eye-opener for you guys as well, too, so I think it's important to share them.
Well, that reminds me of a time, I remember way back then. No, but I remember.
Oh my God.
I don't know. It was.
I forgot now.
No, I didn't forget. I'm just trying to see how long ago this was. It was before we had kids.
Was I still involved in your
No,
life?
yeah, I was here. Okay. So it was like maybe 5 years ago. And so I actually wrote about this on my blog a long time ago. But I remember I was taking the train. I actually had to go to church, and I took the train.
We didn't have a car or what?
Well, that's what I was trying to remember.
I think we didn't.
I think it was a time that my truck got taken away or impounded or something. That's a different story. So, I didn't have a car, and I had to go to a meeting at church for something. I don't even know what it was.
We lived in Pasadena, and
that's
meeting was in San Fernando, so it's like 30 miles.
Yeah, so
but in the bus,
even driving in your car, it's 30 minutes, but on the bus, it's longer. So I made this huge sacrifice. I took the train. I think it was a pastoral council meeting. I was on the pastoral council at that time. Yeah, and I remember running down the street to try to catch the bus.
Wasn't it raining?
No, thank God it wasn't raining. But I had to take the bus to the train and then the train back home. And I remember I got on the bus on the way home, and I got to the train station. This is in North Hollywood. And I got to the train station, I realized I didn't have any more money on me. And not just that I didn't have money, I literally had no money to my name. I didn't have any money in my bank account, and I didn't have any cash, not even a few coins, to be able to pay for the train ride home.
He forgot to break his piggy bank.
No, I didn't have a piggy bank. I was literally broke. And I had nothing, no money to my name. And so it was a very humbling experience. I remember this vividly. I'm in the middle, if you've ever been to North Hollywood, the metro station there, I'm like downstairs in the middle of like where everyone comes walking through this train station, and I'm on my knees.
He's like, I'm going to get a hat out or something.
No, I'm like going through my bags, like there has to be like some change in the bottom of this bag or something. Because it was only a couple bucks, and I literally didn't even have a couple dollars to get on the train. Literally. And I realized, wow, like I have nothing. And at that moment, someone walked up to me and says, "Oh, did you buy your ticket already?" And they gave me their day pass. No, like, this is serious.
No, I know, but...
And I was like, wow, like, it was a humbling experience, because it's like, something like that, it's trivial. Like, for that person, it didn't cost them anything, because they had even already used it, so they got the use out of it that they needed. And instead of just throwing it in the trash, they said, "Hey, do you need this?" And they gave it to me, and I was like, God, you're real. Like, it was a powerful moment for me. And it was crazy because I knew that the next day I was going to get paid, so I had a paycheck coming and I was going to have money again. But some people don't have that. And so it's like, can you do something that small to bless somebody in a way like that? You know, I
and it wasn't even money. It was a ticket of paper, you know? Yeah. And so...
But I could have been stuck there if that person wouldn't have been generous, you know, because I probably wouldn't have had the courage to go ask somebody to give me $1 or something, you know. But for them to walk up to me and just say, "Hey, do you need this?" It touched me. So I remember that experience, right? So, time,
God
talent, and
works
treasure.
in mysterious ways.
And he challenges us to be good stewards and to give back from what we have. And so we've been talking about those 3 ways that we can give back, which are time, talent, and treasure. But now we're going to look at the Bible, see what the Bible has to say about this whole idea of giving, right? So first we'll look at Sirach. It says, in Sirach chapter 4, verse 31, it says, "Do not let your hand be open to receive, but clenched when it is time to give." So that one's kind of, those are powerful words, right? Because he's saying, you know, when someone's offering us something, we're always willing to put our hand out and say, oh, give me, give me, give me. But when it's time for us to give to someone else in need, we're like, I don't know. Like, we want to hold back because we have that attachment to our stuff and especially our money.
I did something cool this week.
What?
I gave away a lot of my stuff, right? Well, I didn't give away. They're
Kinda.
still here.
There's a huge pile of stuff.
Oh my
us.
gosh. My dad was having this like yard sale at church or something like that.
Again.
I'm crying again. I know.
It was an emotional experience to get rid of all this crap.
And supposedly because like again we wanted to get extra cash and so forth. So I'm like giving, you know, but again it came like I was like, you know what? I'm never gonna lose weight, so I better get rid of these clothes. You know, I probably gave away like. Well, I took
more
them
than
out.
half of her clothes.
More, like literally half of my closet. I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? You know?
Yes, I was
He
so
was
excited.
happy.
Because it's just there, you never use it.
And we always, you know, tell our engagement couples when we do the weekends that we're starting to show that to our kids. You know, like, okay, we need to get away some of your toys because you guys have a lot. And we'll get you guys, you know, new ones later in the past. But we always say, you know, they're good for other kids, you know. So we're already starting to implement that in their minds, you know.
Right.
So I was very proud of myself. We took out a lot of stuff. It was I called this spring cleaning, and I think it worked out. It was
We should
good.
do this every month.
Whatever.
I got rid of like half of my shirts.
He
too.
did, like really nice shirts. I don't know why he said they don't
They
fit
don't
either.
fit me.
I
'Cause,
guess
like,
we need to fix a problem here.
I have long arms, so like once you wash them, they
Chop 'em
shrink,
up.
and then it comes up to like here.
Anyhow,
Anyway.
so you know, just that, you know, it was meant to like supposedly like it was for us, you know, to make money, but I guess the yard sale didn't happen, so they're just here. So I guess we're probably just gonna end up giving them away, you know. So just little simple things like that we could do.
Detachment.
Detachment is hard, but it's good.
It's true because we get attached to what
And
we
it's
have.
a piece
our
of
possessions.
clothing, you know. It's a
Right.
piece of clothing, so it's like that's how bad we're, you know, we get. Like we need help.
Another one, this one's from the Acts of the Apostles, chapter 20, verse 35. It says, "Keep in mind the words of the Lord Jesus, who himself said, 'It is more blessed to give than to receive.'" And I think that's another powerful statement there because, you know, when we give, we've been talking about all these examples of how we can give back. And Joanna mentioned something earlier that, you know, when you give, it makes you feel good. And you would think, well, like, you know, getting rid of your dresses, if that would make you feel bad, right? Because you're giving stuff away, you're losing something. But like you just said, it made you actually feel better about yourself. So I think there's like when you give, when you help somebody, when you do something for somebody else, it makes you feel good. And
Right.
it's not the reason that you do it, but it's a kind of a natural side effect, a benefit that comes from doing something like that.
Yeah,
What do you think?
I agree. Ditto.
Amen.
Yeah.
Another one comes from Jesus. This is in the Gospel of John, chapter 15, verse 13. He says, and this is around the time where he's about to be crucified and die for us. And he says to his disciples, he says, "No one has greater love than this, than to lay down one's life for one's friends." Now that's where this one's a lot deeper, right? Because he's talking about giving his life for somebody. And you know, we think, well, how does that apply to us? You know, I'm not Jesus, I'm not going to be nailed to the cross, or I'm not going to actually die for somebody. But if we think about it, there are ways that we can die to ourselves every day, because Jesus actually calls us to that. He says, those who seek to follow me must deny themselves, take up their cross, and follow me. He's asking us that we have to die to ourselves every day. And that doesn't mean literally die physically, right? It means to put others before ourselves. And
Well,
again,
I would like. Can I?
Yeah.
Sorry. Well, I think it just came to my head right now. You know, all these three things that we're talking about: time, talent, and treasure. We talk about it on Engage Encounter, you know, for our couples, and we say, how can you be life-giving?
Right.
2 simple words, life-giving. So every day, how can you be life-giving to your spouse, to your kids, to your mom, to your dad, to your friends, and that's when you incorporate your time, your talent, your treasure. Mm-hmm. A quick example: last week I was on the phone cooking, getting ready for Ricky to get home, and I opened the door and he just up with a bouquet of flowers. I felt touched. I love flowers. But he does it once in a while. He does it.
Well, that day, she was having a really rough day. And I had talked to her.
Because I give my clothes away. I'm just kidding.
No, it was like at lunchtime. I don't know. I talked to her and she was just having a rough day with the boys. And we hadn't slept a lot that week because we were working on some projects. It was after the retreat, so we didn't sleep a lot that weekend. And then it was just, when you don't sleep a lot, you don't have the same level of patience. And so it was a rough day for her. It was not a good Monday. And so I was like, what can I do to be life-giving in that moment? And so I was like, well, I'm going to bring her some flowers.
And because life-giving.
Even though she was having a rough day, it was a way to show her that I care, that I love her, that I was thinking about her, and that I want her to add like a little cherry on top to her horrible day.
And we posted a picture. I made him some chocolate strawberries, and he loved them, and so that's how it starts. How can we be life-giving? So I hope this week, these three topics start incorporating in your lives, time, talent, and treasure, and how can we make work, for others as well, and how can we make it incorporate it in our life. How can we be life-giving? So that's why I like to just use those words, because they're very powerful.
Right.
Instead of thinking, time, talent, and treasure. It's like every day, when you wake up, how can I be life-giving? At your job, at your work, maybe your boss, you don't like him. It's like maybe giving him a smile. That's life-giving for him,
Saying good morning or hello.
Even though it's hard, we have to be life-giving.
And so I want to share one more passage. This is one of the parables that Jesus shares in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 25. He says, he's talking about the kingdom of God. He says, it will be as when a man who was going on a journey called on his servants and entrusted his possessions to them. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, to a third 1, and to each according to his ability. Then he went away. Immediately the one who received 5 talents went and traded with them and made another 5. Likewise the one who received 2 made another 2. But the man who received 1 went off and dug a hole in the ground and buried his master's money. After a long time, the master of those servants came back and settled accounts with them. The one who had received 5 talents came forward, bringing the additional 5. He said, Master, you gave me 5 talents. See, I have made 5 more. His master said to him, Well done, my good and faithful servant. Since you were faithful in small matters, I will give you great responsibilities. Come, share your master's joy. Then the one who had received 2 talents also came forward and said, Master, you gave me 2 talents. See, I have made 2 more. His master said to him, Well done, my good and faithful servant. Since you were faithful in small matters, I will give you great responsibilities. Come, share the master's joy. Then the one who had received 1 talent came forward and said, Master, I knew you were a demanding person, harvesting where you did not plant and gathering where you did not scatter. So out of fear I went off and buried your talent in the ground. Here it is back. His master said to him in reply, You wicked, lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I did not plant and gather where I did not scatter? Should you not then have put my money in the bank so I could have at least got back with interest on my return? Now then, take the talent from him and give it to the one with 10. For to everyone who has, more will be given, and he will grow rich. But from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away. And throw this useless servant into the darkness outside, where there will be wailing and grinding of teeth. And then after this follows the judgment of nations, where he talks about separating the sheep from the goats. So I think it's a powerful story because we're talking about not just talents in the sense of we think of talents. This is actually talking about money. Talents was a form of money back then. So it applies to everything, time, talent, and treasure, that God has given us all these blessings, right? And he expects us to use them, to share them. The ones who did that got more from that. So that's the example that we shared at the very beginning. When we give of what God has given us, we grow even more rich, right? So when we give of our love, we grow in love. We receive even more love. We feel great.
And maybe we don't see it at the moment,
right.
Later, like you're doing something and then you get something in return, that's when God gives it back to you. Maybe not when we expect it as well, because sometimes we could get stubborn as well. So that's important.
Right. You're not doing it to receive it, but you're doing it because that's what God is asking us to do. Mm-hmm. And so,
but I always love when they say, when you do something, don't expect nothing in return.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's super important to always remember that.
So I think that's a powerful example because this is coming from Jesus himself. If Jesus tells you something, that means it's important, and so he's telling them, share the blessings that you have, that God has given you, whether it's time, talent, or treasure. It's not for you to hold on to it or to stockpile it. It's for you to share it, to give it away. And when you detach yourself from those things, you'll see how God blesses you. Because it's true, like when you're doing something that's for somebody else, or when you're doing something that's good, that's generous, it's crazy how like your time seems to last longer than when you're doing selfish things, things that's just about you. So that's a way I think that God multiplies things, that God blesses you even more. And they say, God cannot be outdone in generosity, right? You can't be more generous than God. So that's the example that we want to share from the Bible on this whole idea of giving, of time, talent, and treasure. And we had mentioned at the very, very beginning Star Wars, and I kind of skipped over it. I want to get back to that because it relates a lot to this whole topic of giving. So recently, a few months ago, we went and saw Star Wars Rogue One. And it was very different from the other Star Wars movies. I liked it a lot better than Episode 7, but
sure,
The Force Awakens.
Sure.
But I think the reason I wanted to bring it up is because basically it's this story about this young girl whose father gets taken away by the Empire, the bad guys, for Joanna, who doesn't know what Star Wars is about. So the bad guys take away this girl's father, they kill her mother, and they force him to build this big machine in order to blow up planets. So they build this machine called the Death Star. You know what the Death Star is?
Sure.
It's that big ball that's floating on top of your ear right there.
This one.
That's the Death Star. That shoots a big laser at a planet and it blows up. That's what the Death Star is. So her dad is the one who designed it and built it, right?
I remember the movie.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure because she said she didn't know about Star Wars. So for you, if you don't know what that movie's about. So they take her dad away. She basically grows up an orphan. Later on, she finds out that her dad has sent her the secret message, that he's, found a way that he can get this message to the rebels so that they can destroy the Death Star. He's put a little flaw in it, and they have to get those plans and send it back to the rebels so that they can do this. And so she goes with this band of rebels to this planet where the records are stored, where the plans for this Death Star are. And, her dad she meets him and he dies like within a few minutes, so it's it's pretty sad. But
I'm being excited.
But at the very end, they're on this planet where like the archives are kept for the Empire, where they have the plans for the Death Star. And so she goes down there with this small group of rebels. They get to the plans, but they realize after they get there that they're not going to be able to escape, that they're trapped there. But they don't give up on the mission, right? So they continue to do whatever they have to do in order to get those plans into the hands of the rebels. And so in the end, they break down the shield and they transmit the message to the rebel ships right before the planet is destroyed. And so it's a very powerful scene where her and one of the other guys are there on the beach, like in an embrace, as the planet is beginning to explode, and then you see
my ear's about to explode.
You see just this. You see just this, like a, what do they call it? A
wave.
Yeah, but like the shock wave, like the bright light is coming towards them, about to take them away, and they're hugging there on the beach, and it's like they gave their lives for something that they would never see. Like they were willing to sacrifice themselves to save the other people.
And he's a Hispanic actor.
Yes.
The first one out of, I think, all the movies that they were impressed at.
All the Star Wars movies?
Hispanic Mexican actor did it. I don't think there's Mexicans on Star Wars.
We're getting a little off topic, but yes. So, but the idea is they gave their lives to help the rebels to save
the world,
the galaxy, the universe, right? Because the Empire is trying to overrule everybody, right? And so it goes back to what Jesus says. He says, "No one has greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends, right? So they sacrifice themselves for that good. But we can do the same thing in our own lives. We don't have to actually physically die, but just as we were sharing, if we can, as a husband and father, it's my duty, my responsibility to pour out my life, to lay down my life for my family, for my wife, and for my kids. It doesn't mean that I should actually die physically. If need be, I should be willing to do that. Hopefully that'll not happen, but if it does, that's an honor that I would have to be able to die for them. But I can die to them every day. I go to work every day. I'm sacrificing of my time and my talents in order to provide for their needs. That's one way. But there are other ways too, right? Emotionally, physically, spiritually, all these different ways that we can give of ourselves, that we can lay our lives down for those we love and for those that are in need. And so that's the lesson that we have this week. We hope that you take something away from all of this.
Challenge you to go out there and give of your time, your talent, and your treasures, and be light-giving to everyone out there that you see. So we'll finish up with another with a question, and it's, how are you giving back in your family, in your community, and at work? So please comment, because you don't know, just by your comment you could touch somebody else's life in this.
Give someone else an idea.
Yep. So again, how are you giving back in your family, in your community, and at work? And we won't share no more of us, because you guys have heard a lot about everything that we do. People call us, are like, yeah, I know you guys are always busy. I'm like, thank God. I prefer burning the ends of both candles to get rusted. Fulton Sheen.
I think she just slaughtered that quote.
I did. How does it? That's how it's.
Burn the candle at both ends.
No. That's what I just said.
That's not what you said.
I said you burn the candle at both ends. What did I say?
You said, I prefer to burn both candles so that they can get rusted.
Because I'm talking about me. So that I get rusted.
Rusted?
Yeah.
How does burning the candle have to do with rust?
That's what he said.
Okay, we're going to have to look that one up. It was on one of our previous episodes.
Yeah.
Anyways, we'll end with a quote from Mother Teresa. She says, give, but give until it hurts. That means sacrifice. That means give even when it hurts.
Ouch.
So thank you for joining us. This is Live with the Joneses, episode 9. And we will see you next week at 8 p.m. on Thursday. Have a blessed night.
Bye. Good